the SEC, just down the road at a meeting in Knoxville. Billy was at Furman when he earned those awards. The Paladins won 2 conference championships. And he played against the University of Montana in the 2001, what was then called 1AA, now FCS National Championship game against the University of Montana. He's a native of Chatsworth, Georgia. He and his wife, Allie, have a daughter and 2 sons. Welcome to SEC Football Media Days, the head coach of the Florida Gators, Billy Napier.
All right, this is my 6th year as a head coach. This is the 6th media day. Typically my wife Allie and I always finish up our vacation time and summer break with an anniversary trip, and we back that right up to media day. My mom or Allie's parents will keep Annie, Sammy, and Charlie, and this year was special. We celebrated 15 years together. So it's been a good break. I don't know how your break has been. I don't know that we ever stopped working. I hope you've enjoyed your break like we have. We're excited to be here in Nashville today as we kind of turn our focus to one of my favorite times of the year. What a blessing it is to be here representing the University of Florida. I've been blown away in my first year with this place, how much the people care. The people I've met, the University of Florida is a special place because it has impacted so many people. The experience, the memories, the relationships, the caliber of degree, the alumni network. We're approaching 500,000 living alumni at a prestigious place. I think the flagship institution in a thriving state with 22 million people, we really have a unique experience to offer. This is a unique combination, a challenging education with an opportunity to compete against the very best in the SEC and be a part of an athletic department that leads the way. 47 national championships, 261 SEC championships. They call it the everything school for a reason. We have dynamic leadership. I've been very impressed with our new president, Dr. Ben Sass. He's actually the son of a high school coach. He was in my office yesterday. I'm excited about his impact and the ideas that he has for the future of the University of Florida. I look forward to seeing him work. He's been impressive so far, his capacity, his work ethic. We're 1 year into the job, and I've been very appreciative of Scott Strickland, our athletic director. I'm always thankful for opportunity to lead, but there's something special about people that believe in what we do and how we do it. His foresight, his integrity, his example, he's got great discernment, and he's very focused. We continue to be competitive on the national stage at the highest level. And have exceptional people all throughout the UAA. I'm humbled to be a part of an incredible culture of head coaches, a championship pedigree in all 21 sports. What a run this year alone. When you think about gymnastics, track and field, volleyball, swimming and diving, men's golf, baseball. It's an incredible year. It's really a unique opportunity for me to work alongside what I would call some of the absolute legends and the best in their sport. When you talk about Mouse Holloway, Roland Thornquist, Tim Walton, J.C. Deacon, Kevin O'Sullivan, Jenny Rowland, Anthony Nesty, Mary Wise, I'm probably missing a few here, but I've got a ton of respect for the accomplishments, the experience, and the wisdom. I love this league that we compete in. I love this footprint. I grew up in Northwest Georgia. I'm the son of a high school coach. My dad's family's from Tennessee. My dad's from Salina, Tennessee. Got lots of family in Crossville. My mom's parents had a tobacco farm in Sparta, Tennessee. My mom's from Huntsville, Alabama. I spent 13 years in the state of South Carolina. I've got 4 years as the head coach of the University of Louisiana, and now to be the head coach of the Florida Gators. So this is special to me, and I'm humbled with the opportunity. You know, the SEC continues to dominate. The college football playoff, winning 4 in a row, 17 years in a row. They continue to lead picks in the National Football League draft. The attendance, 24 straight years with the most attendance. Stands out to me is the level of commitment and alignment by each institution. You know, their passion, the competition, their desire to win. The margin of error is small in this league. You know, we know that. We lost 5 really close games, one-score games, even into the final few minutes of the game. There's mismatched players, there's quality depth. Combine that with the caliber of personnel, the diversity of scheme, the great coaching, the challenges of going on the road, given the venues and the fan bases. You know, I want to congratulate Commissioner Sankey on the extension. I've really been encouraged by his leadership. He's got an extensive staff, well-deserved, high-level decision-making, complicated problems. This guy's navigated a number of, I think, historic issues in a really unique era, and the SEC is positioned for success to continue that dominance. You know, there's stability and great momentum headed into the 12-team college football playoff. You know, really excited about the player representation that we have here today with us. You know, these guys are here because of feedback from their teammates in all parts of the organization. It's no accident that they're here today. Kingsley Agwakin's a 3-year starter at center. He's a COVID junior. He's an undergraduate degree in criminology last December, and he'll get his master's degree in December in tourism and hospitality. He's an SEC honor roll player, and he's from Jacksonville, Florida. Ricky Pearsall is a senior receiver. He graduates this spring in education sciences. He's an SEC honor roll member. He's from Chandler, Arizona. And finally, Jason Marshall is a true junior cornerback who's an anthropology major. He's an SEC honor roll member. He's from Miami, Florida. You know, the most powerful tool that we have in leadership is example. And these guys are part of an accountability group going all the way back to January that has accepted that challenge. They embody our values. You know, this group has integrity. They take great pride in being a great teammate. They're very disciplined in their approach. They've always been known for their effort. It's a tough group, and I think they've got confidence and belief as a result of a lot of hard work. People are never more committed than their leaders. These guys have a voice on our team. They've got great awareness. They're really intentional about their approach and their ability to influence other people. I'm excited about the energy and the attitude of this accountability group and these 3 guys and what they bring to our team. You know, I think in January, we went through an extensive, detailed review of year 1 at Florida. You know, as an entire organization, each individual, each department, you know, what worked, what didn't work, how do we adjust, how do we adapt, how do we evolve? And we started the process of getting our 2023 team ready to go. You know, this is a new group of players. We have a few new staff dynamics. But one of the things I'm encouraged about is we have 93% of our team was with us in January. We had 27 mid-year players. We've got a great group of veterans that have experience, that have wisdom from the past. We brought in an influx of young talent, and I feel really good about what we did in the portal. You know, we added 10,000 snaps and 123 starts with that group. You know, I'm excited about the compound effect of year 2. You know, the consistency in process, the consistency in our systems. I think we've defined expectations. We've renewed accountability, and there's a different level of discipline, and there's a different level of detail as we work today. You know, we've benefited from executing the entire offseason in our new facility. The Hebner Football Training Facility has allowed us to be more efficient. We have great resources to offer our players. And we found that the players spend more time in the building, therefore they spend more time with each other, and it really has affected our team dynamic. You know, one of the things we're not going to do with our team is we're not going to allow outside opinion or a creative narrative to define the reality for the 2023 team. You know, the head ball coach, a Gator legend, Steve Spurrier, said it best when he said, "This is talking season." And the games are coming. And in the meantime, this group will continue to work like it's been working. You know, we're in the week 7 of a 9-week program. It's important that we stay focused as we finish up and we transition into training camp. The next 5 weeks will be paramount for our football team. You know, I believe life's about people. I believe the game of football is about people, and it's important. This is our great game. You know, I always try to keep it in perspective. I loved to play this game. You know, this is a game I love to play. If I could keep playing, I'd continue to play. It's a game I love to coach. You know, I'm going to enjoy doing it. I'm excited to coach this team, this group of players. I'm proud of this group, and I'm looking forward to this coming year. You know, I'd like to say a thank you to the media before we get to the questions. You know, our game is more popular than it's ever been, and that's a result of your profession and the pride that you take in what you do. You know, I want to tell you and challenge you to keep telling the great stories about sport and what it can teach us about life. Also, continue to be encouraged about the way you tell stories about how sport can impact people. The game of football continues to do great things. It's important that we continue to let it teach us great things. Questions?
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Pam, Aaron, and Asher, please, if you can, stand so we can see you more clearly. We'll start right up here in the middle, right here in the middle of the section in front of me. Laney.
Laney Michelle, Knoxville News. I wanted to talk to you about how your name came up on the list when looking at probable Tennessee coaches. How does that whole situation make you feel, and how does the entire Pruitt situation make you feel?
You know, we were fortunate to have success at the University of Louisiana, and it was really a result of a lot of people's hard work. We had a fantastic staff. We had a great group of players. And that created opportunities for myself and other parts of our staff. And it's humbling, that's what I would tell you. But all the success we've had has been a reflection of a lot of great people's hard work, and thanks for the question.
Coach, we're going to go over to our right-hand side, to your right.
Coach. Brooks Austin, Dogs Daily. I know you have a pretty extensive offensive background as a coach. The 4-2-5 Mint defense has kind of taken over college football, including your football program. What difficulties does that defense, particularly the front, provide to an offensive staff, and why do we think so many programs are running that defense right now?
Well, I think the key to playing really good defense, obviously, is you obviously start with great personnel, but I think having an identity, right? And I think playing complementary football, I think we've decided to go the direction that we have on defense because we want to do just that, right? We want to have a great working environment, great collaboration between the offense and the defense. It's important that you're on the same page throughout the entire offseason relative to scripting, installation, practice format. I think the defense that you're describing there creates issues because of the variables, right? I think the variables not only in the front, the pressure variables to go along with the back end. You know, playing good defense, there's a lot of factors, but I think your practice environment and your approach to complementary football are key.
Coach, we're going to go right down the middle aisle, about halfway back.
Hey, Coach, Chris Phillips, the Spurs Up Show. You mentioned the way that the transfer portal helped you. Talk a little bit about Graham Mertz, the quarterback you picked up from Wisconsin. What made him the right choice for you, and what's the battle like in that room between he and Jack Miller?
You know, I've been very impressed with Graham. Graham's a 32-start player. He's played over 2,000 snaps at a really established program in Wisconsin. We went through an extensive process to make that decision. And I think Graham's an accomplished player, but more importantly, I've been impressed with the person, the leader, This guy has an incredible motor and work ethic. He is in the building, and he is fanatical about his preparation. So I think that has helped the competition. I think it's caused Jack to respond. Jack's had an incredible offseason, and he's in position for a great camp. And we've been really pleased with a young player, Max Brown. He's had a good summer. He's impressed the staff, and he's impressed his teammates. So we're excited about that competition. It'll go into training camp, and we'll make a decision when we see fit for the team.
Coach, we'll go over to our left, the fourth row.
Hey, Coach. Over here.
Over this.
Bradley Davis, WAPT in Jackson. So given your success in the Sun Belt Conference, first, do you still keep up with the conference at all? And two, what are your thoughts on the recent addition of Southern Miss down there?
Yeah, no, I would say that, you know, our time there was fantastic. I think that we hit it just right. They just went to the East and West Division formats. It's in the SEC footprint. That's the thing that was exciting to me because you have that same passion for the game of football. I do know they've expanded, and certainly Southern Miss is in that SEC footprint, and it made a ton of sense, right? I think they have really good leadership. They've had a number of commissioners that have contributed to that, but much like our league, each one of those schools, there is alignment, there is a commitment, and they care about football and want to win. So it was a great experience and a great conference. It's proved to be very competitive nationally.
Coach, we'll go to the middle section just to your right, about 4 rows back. There we go.
Hi, Coach. Travis Gailey, orangebloods.com. You were talking about recruiting in the portal, but specifically on recruiting, I know you've got a four-star quarterback, DJ Lagway, you're committed. You can't talk about him. But recruiting in general, how important is Texas, the state of Texas, to your recruiting plans moving forward? And does the addition of UT and OU help in that effort?
Well, I think when you start talking about putting a really good football team together, you know, you've got to have a sound evaluation process, and then certainly you got to have a really good product to recruit to. You know, I think it's one of the things that we benefited from at the University of Florida. You know, we spent an entire year completely rebuilding the player experience, and we've got a unique combination that we offer, right? And I think players from all across the country. I do think that there's research relative to, you know, kind of what we call the 5 core states, Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Alabama. But when you're at a brand like the University of Florida and you have things that we have to offer, given who's joining our league, there's no question with the direct flights that we can get in here from Texas, we'll be competitive out there. And if a guy's a good enough player and passes the evaluation physically, has the right character, we can get him on campus, we'll have a chance.
Coach, next we'll go right in front of me, just to the left here, over on the left.
Hey, Coach. Gary Chapman, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. I know you just signed a 2-year extension with Jacksonville, but would there ever be an interest to make a home-and-home with the Georgia-Florida rivalry, or maybe even turning it into a Jacksonville-Atlanta transition?
Well, I think that the Florida-Georgia game is an incredible rivalry. I think there's history there. There's tradition there. There's a ton of economic implications relative to these decisions. We're going to have to cross that bridge at some point due to the renovations in Jacksonville. But there's benefit to a home-and-home from a recruiting perspective, and I think there's also benefit from an economic standpoint for both athletic departments and institutions. So, you know, right now we got 3 more years of the same model. I got enough grass to mow right now, so I'm going to focus on the things that are in front of me.
Coach, we're going to go right in front of you. Bob, second row, right in front.
Hey, Billy, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. There's been kind of a trend with head coaches who were used to being play callers for a long time, turn that over to a coordinator. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're still going to call your own plays. If that's the case, well, why do you want to keep doing that? And what do you maybe think about the trend of the other guys are getting away from that?
Yeah, no, I think it's a relevant question. I think it was part of our evaluation, you know, this offseason. You know, I think like most parts of our organization and our process, we will improve in year 2. I think it's something that we'll continue to evaluate. I like having my hand on the scripts, the installation, that process. I think I can help establish our identity and personality as a team. through that process. And I think if you get too far away from that, I think that there can be some things from a sustainable and repeatable part. So I'm going to continue to do it, and I think each year, much like all parts of what we do, we'll continue to evaluate.
Coach, we'll go all the way to the back of the room, right in front of the camera in the back.
All right, Culver Jones, CFBAD podcast. So, Coach, the Utah Utes have not lost at Rice-Eccles since COVID. I was wondering what y'all are going to do to prepare for that game, and also if the altitude is a factor as well in the preparation.
You know, one of the things that, we've got a unique schedule this year, and that starts with a Thursday night opener at Utah, and it's a challenging place to play. I spent a year in the Pac-12. I was at Arizona State. We actually went there to play, so have a little bit of a feel for what that's going to be like. But we've got a ton of respect for their program, the brand of football that they play. It's less about where we're playing and more about their brand of football. So there's no question they're one of the more established and successful programs in the country. I do think we've spent a lot of time with our performance team in the offseason researching the altitude. We've done a lot of work with NFL teams that go through that process consistently. We've got a good plan. All of that's already mapped out and ready to go. So it's going to be a great challenge and one that we look forward to.
Coach, we're going to go in the center section in front of me, about halfway back.
Hey, Coach, Mitch Gibbs, WGSO Radio. Appreciate you doing a couple interviews with me when you were at UL. Really appreciate that. So I got a two-part question. First, I want to ask you about the transition from that conference now to the SEC in your second year. And then, of course, the opportunity to play in Baton Rouge this fall at Tiger Stadium, Death Valley. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think I've had the transition question quite a bit. I think there's three really variables that were really a big adjustment. There's no question the pace of recruiting. This was my first time at the Power 5 level with early signing period and how that has affected the recruiting calendar, right? The workflow, the evaluation process, the recruitment process. So there's definitely been an adjustment. I think year one to year two, we've made really good improvements in that area. I also think that heck of a year to take over a program, right, with the portal and the NIL coming to the forefront. Those were challenging, right? In particular, you're trying to establish trust in a really short amount of time, and those create a dynamic on your team that can be a challenge, right? So I think we've come up with really good systems to attack those areas. And I'm pleased with the progress that we're making. And again, each part of this, it's very fluid, and we'll continue to adjust and adapt as we go. But I'm pleased with the year one to year two transition relative to the recruiting calendar, NIL, and certainly the portal.
Okay, we're going to go over to the right-hand side. Near out.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WCZN from Huntsville, Alabama. Hope you're doing well. You've talked quite a bit about the portal, and that leads into chemistry, team chemistry. I know it changes from year to year. Does the portal make it difficult to read the chemistry of your team? And where do you think your team chemistry is coming out of spring?
Much like I described earlier, I think one of the things that we benefited from is that 90+% of our team has been there since January. We had 27 mid-year players. We did minimal work in the spring portal. But, I think it's a reality in college football right now, especially in the earlier stages of building a program. You're going to have to do work in the portal. Now, again, we want to continue to recruit the best high school players in the country and establish some stability from a roster management standpoint and do less work in the portal in the future, right? But there's no question it's an avenue to acquire a player. There is a chemistry dynamic, and I think you got to be intentional about all parts of building the team and that connection and that togetherness that's required become even more important. So I think you've got to be intentional in terms of the off-season program, the things you do throughout the spring semester, the summer training camp, and even in season to create those relationships some of which can be in a short window of time. It's a great question.
Okay, we'll go back down the center aisle, almost near the back.
Hey, Billy, Zach Goodall with AllGators.com. You've spoken about the challenges with NIL in the past, having to really learn on the fly. In your position with having to, change partnerships with a collective and just the challenges that you've seen over the past year, could you reflect a bit on some of those and what you've been able to learn from that, and ultimately the progress that you believe you guys have made there?
Well, I mean, we've learned a lot. I think every head coach would tell you that. We kind of walked into an unprecedented time in college football, and there was no manual for it, right? So, and listen, this thing continues to change. There's a number of variables that contribute to that, but I can tell you at the University of Florida, I'm very pleased with where we're at. We've benefited from a group called Florida Victorious who has great leadership. I think the state laws have allowed us to go down a better path. I think we're benefiting from that. But we've got great leadership. Again, we're in a state with 22 million people. There's strength in numbers relative to NIL, and I think we've created some great opportunities through this organization that is doing NIL, I think, with class and integrity. They've got a very established process, and I think our players have benefited. And it's helping the Gators, there's no question about it.
We have time for a couple more. We've got two in the back and the left-hand side, all the way in the back.
Dave Schultz, 103.3, the GOAT from Lafayette, Louisiana. Coach, how can you incorporate the tight end more into Florida's offense?
Dave Schultz, long time no see. Dave, it's one of the areas on our team where we're young, right? I think safety and tight end are areas where we're going to have some good, young, talented players that are going to have to contribute to our team. So that is very much a work in progress. I am pleased with the growth we've seen this summer. We'll have some young players in that room that are going to have to play, but I'm excited about that group. And we'll continue to play the tight ends much like we played them in the past.
Okay, we'll take one final question back in the same section.
Rob Brown, Sideline Sports in Memphis. How much of what you learned coaching with Dabo Swinney at Clemson, Nick Saban at Alabama, that do you still use today, and how much of what you learned is obsolete in today's world?
Yeah, no, I think obviously two of the better coaches in the history of our game, if not the best. And I would say that a lot of the things that you learn from those guys stand the test of time. I think simple things like defining expectations, being really consistent and fair, everyone understanding their role, and kind of putting the ego aside and working to earn more. I think they're good at what they do because they have conviction about what they want their football team to look like, right? And there's a big picture plan relative to purpose, right? I know for me, our purpose is the player, right? We want to create a life-changing organization that has impact on the person, the student, and the football player. And I think we've learned those things. I'm excited about some of the things that we've implemented to do just that. If we can connect the dots with the degree, the experiences that we can create for our players through our alumni, if we can equip, if we can educate and to teach and develop football players, we've got a great opportunity to do those things in the future as well.
Coach Napier, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.